Hello, everyone. Spencer Love here of Love Wrestling, welcoming you to another edition, a special edition, a very loving edition of the Sunday Brunch. Happy Valentine's Day to all of you out there. Happy Valentine's Day to all of you who specifically decided to spend some time with your significant other chatting professional wrestling with us here on Love Wrestling. Of course, Spencer Love, as I mentioned off the bat, joined by Chris Parrish and Mighty Joe Morin as always. And, of course, good friend of mine, good friend of Love Wrestling, good friend of all of you, hopefully in the near future in professional wrestling. Matt, how are you doing today, friend? Maybe if you got the opportunity, which you do now. I'm hosting the show, so I know you do. Give people a little bit of background into who you are.
Well, just Matt, obviously, little Aussie dude, chilling with everyone at 5 a.m. as just you do on a Monday morning, I guess. Happy Valentine's Day to everyone that's out there.
You're like strictly in the breakfast category. I don't even know if we can make an excuse to give you like the brunch nomenclature of this. Unless you feel like having a beer at 5 a.m., I won't begrudge you. I just won't recommend it as a good idea.
Hey, when we say it's 5 o'clock somewhere in the world, we never differentiate between AM and PM. So I'm going to run with it. It is what it is.
I love it, man. Glad to have you here. Thanks for joining. Thanks for the support through the years. Thanks for the time. Thanks for the effort. Thank you for being here this AM Parrish. 2 weeks removed from your loss of the Love Wrestling Elite Championship. Have you recovered yet? How are you doing? Oh, yeah, tainted loss. Oh, yeah, okay.
The goal was to pick the person that didn't go over the top rope and have their feet hit the floor. You picked the one who did. There's photos circling around. Yeah. It's all
Mighty
right.
Joe, how are you doing? How are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good, man. I can't complain. Unlike a certain WWE talent out there, my hole is feeling fantastic.
Cheap pop, but a pop nonetheless, folks. Of course, let us know how you're doing if you're in the comments section today. Today is a very special day in NXT. It is Vengeance Day, a match event that I am very excited for, a match card, I should say, that I'm very excited for if I want to not sound like a complete and utter idiot. It's going to be a great show. I think that any NXT takeover in not even recent memory, but just in my memory has delivered. I can't remember the last time I was disappointed by an NXT takeover event. The shows fluctuate as any professional wrestling show does, but I am always, always, always excited for an NXT takeover. Tonight's card, like I said, looks really, really good. Mighty Joe, we asked you how you were doing last. So let's ask your thoughts on the card first, man. What are your thoughts heading into February 14th, 2021, as far as NXT's programming goes?
I'm genuinely excited, man. For Turnbuckle Talk and whatnot. We've been mainly, I get kind of scattered when it comes to watching professional. I watch a lot of wrestling and not always a lot of the same product. And quite honestly, it's been a little while since I've dedicated myself to watching full on NXT shows. And in preparation for today, sat down and watched the last 2 episodes, and I'm genuinely interested. They have a really interesting crop of talent in NXT right now, and especially this potential of either having Edge or versus Finn Balor or Pete Dunne. That man, right away.
Absolutely, man. Parrish, before I ask your thoughts, we've got to give a shout out to our friends at Wrestling Plug Inc. My whole can't wait to listen after work. Kill it, guys. Always appreciate the support. I think we should honestly have set an over-under on how many whole jokes there were going to be today. Because I think we're going to hit at least like 7 or 8 by the end of this, but I won't complain. It was hilarious. It was nicely done. Chris Parrish can't even get a proper intro with Spencer talking over me. Well, I'm glad that you figured out how to work 2 pieces of technology at once, my friends, because you can sure not work wrestling predictions. How are you doing, though, man, as far as your feelings with tonight's NXT TakeOver card?
I miss this timeout. I kind of want to put you in timeout right now.
I have that power exclusively, Parrish. But of course, your thoughts on Takeover tonight.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. I do like the fact that NXT likes to bring back these old pay-per-views, and I kind of wish the main roster would do that because Great Balls of Fire is stupid. But
that was an underrated card,
especially the logo they had in that show. The logo for that show just looked like a set of balls.
The card was great. The show name was dumb. I mean, you could even go and use just Insurrection back. At least that was nice, but come on. But I mean, I think Pete Dunne and Finn Balor are going to absolutely tear the roof off, and I can't wait for that. And then you got, I believe, both Dusty finals. And man, the using of grizzled young vets on the NXT brand, that's really enticing me to watch the tag division again. WWE does a very good way of making me getting mad over the tag division. This is a team that I'm getting really excited for. So getting to see them against the MSK, which, I mean, how have you not been impressed yet? So it's going to be a lot of fun. Plus, last week we called the women's final with Rachel and Dakota against Shotzi and Ember. So, I mean, once again, Spencer, you and I are calling the shots, right? Maybe the Shotsies. we're calling the Shotsies, right?
Oh man, I like the pun. It would have been better if you hit her out of the bat the first time, because that was absolutely fantastic. You're on your game today as far as the pun goes. Okay,
you guys want to hear?
I'll give you that.
You guys want to hear a quick joke? It's very weird on Valentine's Day to have your mom send you a text that says "Happy V-Day." Kind of weird. Very weird.
Tough one. Tough one. Bad joke. Bad joke.
No, it happened. Not even a joke. It happened.
Damn.
My 69 year-old mom text me "Happy V-Day" today.
I don't know how I feel about the nice there, but we're gonna just skirt over that one. We're gonna move back to Matt. Matt, how are you feeling on TakeOver tonight, man? I know that as far as any of us go, maybe you are the most up to date, the most knowledgeable guy on the NXT brand, and in my humble way of putting you over, how are you feeling, friend?
Oh shucks. Whew. Thanks for that. Tonight, what's this tonight? Shit, it's 11 a.m. my time, so it's tonight. It's just look past all of that tonight business.
Look, you're gonna have to adjust to the Canadian time zone here as far as your adjustments go, man. I ain't great at it, and I'm gonna pull rank as far as hosting.
Hasn't the show basically already happened then for you guys? Because we're time traveling here, right?
Yeah, Monday, 5 a.m. So that means the show's done.
He just asked Matt for help.
Yeah, Matt's the kind of guy who got like 500 messages from people at midnight on New Year's. Hey, what's 2021 like?
Yeah, still the same. Terrible.
Back to TakeOver.
Yeah, TakeOver, man. The card looks stacked as any TakeOver card has been in recent memory. Like you look at Balor versus Dunn. That could be anything. Could be really good. It could be just good. We don't know. Gargano and Kushida. Everyone's overlooking that match and how good that is likely to be. So, Johnny doesn't do bad. And anyone who's followed Kushida at any point of his career knows that he very rarely does bad too. So that match, whether it opens, whether it doesn't, I don't know. But that match will be, yeah, boy. And the tag finals, as Paris said, like MSK, people who didn't watch Impact and a lot of NXT hardcores probably didn't. Yeah. So they're just getting familiar with MSK and they're getting a good piece of what they are. Not the whole piece yet, which I think we'll get tonight, but they're getting a good piece. And yeah, GYV, they've been nothing but amazing too. So yeah, it's going to be a good show. We'll, I think everyone will thoroughly enjoy.
I completely agree. And I think I said this about the Rumble. I feel like I've been saying it about a lot of events lately, which is very, very much a good problem to have. Is they're unpredictable. And I feel like that applies tonight. There's not really, for me, any of your proverbial, oh, this person's going to win, there's no sense in tuning in. You know what I mean? The only one that I even feel fairly confident in my selection of a winner would be Io Shirai. And that's just because I think you guys have all heard me sing her praises for months and months and years, right? So other than that, like pretty well every match on this card could go either way, and I'd be excited. You know what I mean? So, of course, if you guys are in the chat right now, whether you're on Twitch, whether you're on your YouTube, whether you are on Facebook, we're bad, we're nationwide, we're countrywide. Of course, joined by Matt from Australia today. I feel like it's like a call-in show right now. Calling in, Matt from Australia.
Hello, you're speaking with Matt.
Hi, first-time fan, long-time caller.
That's it. First time, long time. How can I help?
Exactly. But, of course, if you guys are in the chat room right now, let us know your thoughts on tonight's TakeOver. We're happy to answer questions, give our comments. If you've got wild ideas, no matter how wild they may be, let's shoot the shit. That's what we're here for this morning for about the next 49 minutes. Zach hopping in the chat, envious of your time zone, Matt. Wrestling and brunch, that's the dream. That's what we thought, too. And that's why this has been just such a nice addition over the last few weeks, hasn't it been?
Yeah. Well, actually, yeah, that is my dream because, as I said, takeover starts at 11. That's brunch. Happy days.
You booked work off today, didn't you?
Maybe.
I've got to call in a couple hours and tell him I'm ill.
Oh, no. I put annual leave for that shit. Don't worry about that.
As watches the show.
Now, before we head into a quick break, I want to have the quick conversation as we always do when we're heading into a new event. It's a 5-match card. They're all great-looking matches. Parrish, you're the only one we haven't started with yet. So, early prediction for a match of the night or a match you're perhaps most looking forward to on tonight's card.
The match of the night is, Dunn and Balor. I think. One of these guys never delivered. These are two of the best workers, let alone some of the best storytellers in WWE and in the NXT. So to me, that's going to be it. But I'm very excited to see what MSK and Grizzled Young Vets are going to do. If you always want to get me going, give me a good tag match. That's going to be it. And I'm actually really happy to finally see in a tag match under the WWE banner where a tag team is actually going to win something. Yes.
Nicely played. Mighty Joe, you got a match of the night for me?
Yeah, man, it's Finn Balor and Pete Dunne, hands down. And just the fact that, Edge is involved in this, and we also have Karrion Kross involved in this too. Those are all recipes for success. That stare down between Kross and Edge in the parking lot there, that promo back and forth there, I was glued to my screen. And I haven't said that about WWE television in quite a long time, my friend.
Fair point, man. I can vouch for that on your end, Matt. You got any thoughts on a match of the night, or are you going to go for the clean sweep of non-hosts?
No, I'm not. Because I'm not the biggest Finn Balor fan. I find him a little bland. So for me, I've got to go Johnny and Kushida. As I said, neither of those two gentlemen do bad wrestling. So, if they let Kushida do his thing and they let Johnny do his thing, it could be the 15-20 minutes of amazing. So that's my pick, but any of the 5 could be just like match of the night, match of the year contenders. They could be anything. So yeah, we could be in for one of the good ones.
I completely agree, man. And especially with Kushida, he over the past few months, since such a cliche in professional wrestling, but developed a new aggressive attitude, brother. He's just been lights out, and especially going up against a guy like Johnny, who it's been a popular sentiment, but definitely one I agree with over the last couple of days is I think a lot of people saw him as your Ricky Steamboats, your Rey Mysterio, could never conceivably turn heel. And then he did. And he's been absolutely lights out. Same sort of thing as Kushida, right? But my pick for the match of the night, I have to go with Shirai, Storm, and Mercedes Martinez in that triple threat. She's just so good. I have no other way to put it. Io Shirai has been incredible. By my money, you look at Sasha Banks, you look at Bayley, she has to be in that conversation as far as MVPs of the crowdless era or top performers or whatever metric you want to use. She's been incredible, and one of the things that stuck out for me a couple of days ago, I don't remember who she did the interview with, but she said something along the lines of, I only even just found out last week that I'm at whatever it was, 259 days as NXT champion. She says, what matters to me is going out and having killer championship defenses. And when you've got two talents like Toni Storm and Mercedes Martinez, who they're so similar in that they're great talents, but they're so different in the mechanics behind the way they work and even just their personalities inside the ring. I'm so excited to see what they do, especially given that Mercedes and Toni Storm have been teaming up for the last little bit, right? In some ways, this could turn out to be a bit of a handicap match. You're going to see some, I love those moments in pro wrestling. They're very much a trope of the sport, but the two partners who start feuding in a match, like breaking up a pinfall or whatever it may be. I love that stuff. This is set up perfectly for that sort of stuff, and I'm very, very excited to see what they do. But Maddie, like you said, man, every match on this card could be a match of the year contender, given the right presentation, I suppose. Gonzalez and Dakota Kai versus Shotzi Blackheart and Ember Moon is going to be insane. Absolutely insane. Again, Raquel Gonzalez is a breakout performer last year and will be a breakout performer this year.
She's come from nowhere, man.
Yeah, and Shotzi Blackheart wins NXT's actual breakout star award last year, and again, could do the same this year, right? They've just got such a accelerated trajectory. I don't have a better phrase, and I know how douchey that one makes me sound, but like they have had rockets rightfully strapped to them, and I think they'll just continue, right? So I think after the break, that'll be a great place to start. We're going to hit a quick commercial. Let's show you some great stuff the Poetry of a Promo has coming up in the next little bit as well. We'll hear from Joe on the Turnbuckle Rewind but stick around for about a minute, friends. We'll be right back to talk about NXT TakeOver and a whole lot more on Love Wrestling.
This week, ladies and gentlemen, we head to the dream world once again. And I speak, of course, of the American dream, Dusty Rhodes. Join us now, if you will, as we take a look at a fantastic piece as performed in MLW. Before his matchup, a triple threat, a three-way dance, if you will, against Stephen Corino and one Terry Funk.
Man, again, I say it every week, but I love getting those. I love when Jordan sends me emails saying he put more stuff in the Google Drive, because it's become one of my favorite podcasts. It's ridiculous in all the ways that I love professional wrestling. And he's got some good subject matter, man. I'm completely biased towards MLW, whether past, present, whatever it may be. So I know I'm coming from a place of over-the-top love for the promotion, admittedly. But, man, going back and digging through some Dusty Rhodes in MLW, you ain't finding many people doing that right now, as you're not finding many people covering the sort of matches that you guys are on Turnbuckle Rewind lately, Joe. So maybe give us a little bit of a preview on what you guys have coming up this week on Love Wrestling.
We have an interesting one for this week, and it's one that people are going to be able to watch for free. You don't need the WWE Network. All you need is access to YouTube. And we're going back, guys, to 2015 to Ring of Honor and their show in 2015 called Field of Honor. We're going to be looking at Kazuchika Okada versus Roderick Strong. That is going to be a fun one. It's going to be a good match. You guys are going to enjoy it, and you'll be able to watch along too. It's quite something. They put on a really cool show there, basically in a outdoor stadium type of event, and it was
cool.
I'm just looking forward to talking, and you guys are going to enjoy it.
I admittedly have never heard of the show, never have watched that match because like I fully had bought into, and like still do, on how Okada was poorly treated when he was last over wrestling for TNA and whatever it may be that he else, whatever else he did here, excuse me. So I haven't gone through and watched those in the conscious cognitive dissonance for it, but we're not here to talk about those matches quite yet. Joe, what's your point before I cut you off, as I tend to do? I'm trying to learn from cutting off Parrish earlier.
It's all right. It's all right. To be fair, though, as poorly as a lot of people felt that Okada was treated at Impact, Okada to this day still refers to his time in Impact, especially credits Mr. Vince Russo, believe it or not, with helping him learn kind of that the television style of kind of wrestling to be able to cater to the camera and whatnot. He learned that from Mr. Russo. So you know, his time in Impact wasn't poorly spent. It was he took away a lot from his time there.
You made chicken salad out of chicken shit,
exactly.
Proverbially. But, of course, like I said, I'm sure that in the next couple of weeks, folks, we're going to be talking about the AEW New Japan Impact Wrestling relationship. I wanted to make sure I didn't miss anybody there. NWA, there we go. I knew I missed someone like a jerk that I am. We're going to be talking about that a ton coming up in the next little bit. But today is for TakeOver Vengeance Day. It's a card that we all talked about a little bit before the break there, one that we're all very excited for, and one that we are going to start digging into for the next 40 minutes, starting with where I think is a good, appropriate place to start, the Dusty Road Classics Finals. I don't know how you would phrase that properly. I'm no linguist by any means. All I know is I am excited about both of these matches. So let's start on the women's side because it's where we finished the last segment. Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai taking on Shotzi Blackheart and Ember Moon for not only the Women's Dusty Rhodes Cup, but a future opportunity at the Women's Tag Team Championships. I'm going to continue to change up who is starting on things, and I'm vamping as I try and pick who it is. Matt, You're the guest. Why not? There's my easy out for why we selected you. You can kick us off here, friend. What are your thoughts heading into this match? Who do you see coming out as your inaugural Dusty Cup winners on the women's side?
Yeah, I don't know. This is a real tough one. Like you can make a case for either team to win. Like the obvious would be Raquel and Dakota, because like they just look like a championship team. They look like a team from NXT that could go to each brand and actually just fit. But at the same time, you can't forget that Raquel pinned Io in War Games. So, like, do they win this and then lose the tag title match, or do they just go Shotzi and Ember and just be done with it now? It's I don't know. It's a real interesting one. It's one I don't know the answer to. I'd be guessing if I had to pick someone, but you know, the winner to me doesn't really matter. It's all about story, whatever else, and good matches are just a bonus of all that. The Dusty Classic for the women has been a really good story. Dakota and Raquel haven't looked like losing. Neither of Ember and Shotzi, to be fair, but I don't know. It's going to be a good match. I think Ember and Shotzi will win, and Dakota might cop a fall, but it is what it is. We'll move on. But yeah, I don't know. Definitely going to be an interesting story coming out of this match. But yeah, I think Ember and Shotzi will go over.
I like it. As long as everybody tries their best and has fun, it's a success, right?
Yes, it's the chocolate frog award. That's what we call it over here. So everyone gets a prize just for attending. But no, I think they'll go with the face heel dynamic, because you got Nia and Shayna. You know, they're the heel team, and if you go the faces, if you will, I just think that's probably a better story to tell rather than two heel teams. But yeah, that's the way I think they'll go, and then I think they'll move on to Raquel and Io. So it is what it is.
I hope so, man. I think you're bang on, though, in that, like, again, it goes back to the unpredictability of earlier. They've really set themselves up well for a lot of potential different stories that make sense. Like you alluded to with Gonzalez and Io Shirai. Well, no, to me, again, it doesn't make sense for them to win tag team titles, then for Gonzalez to go right after Shirai either. I completely buy that logic. But for me, I just buy into the mentality that teams should win. And I've been proven wrong a lot on that before, and I'm going to be proven wrong again in the future on that. Don't get me wrong. And chances are, especially when it relates to the Dusty Cup, because they have had a habit in the past 4 or 5 years of putting it on these sort of thrown together teams. You look at Riddle and Dunn a couple of years ago. You look at even the inaugural winners of Balor and Samoa Joe, right? So I think there's a lot of logic in Ember Moon and Shotzi Blackheart winning it. But for me, my thought is that whoever wins this is going to show up the night after WrestleMania. I don't know why you would bring them up immediately after heading into Mania season. I think there's a lot more to be said of have Nia and Shayna do a bit of a run through right now of who's already on the main roster, and then move on to this after WrestleMania, whoever it may be. So if that's my logic for it, potentially, guys, I don't even see Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler as the women's tag team champions by WrestleMania. So I would love to see it on Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez. So I'm going to pick with my heart on this one. I think there's a lot of room for those guys to go forward. Even if Io and Raquel turns out to just be a match, and I use that lightly, excuse me, but a main event to pop a rating on NXT television. I could see them doing that because that is a marquee matchup, and then bringing those two up to the main roster night after Mania. But we'll see. There's a lot of logic to Ember and Shotzi, and I love the two of them. But I'm confident with Raquel and Dakota Kai on this one. Parrish, we'll move to you next.
So I'm looking at, like, I agree with you on a few points, Spencer, and I also agree with Matt on a couple points. I don't think it's necessarily a given that you'll see Shayna and Nia with the tag titles, but I also think too, like with this whole my whole thing, I think this is kind of WWE's way of trying to turn Shayna and Nia maybe babyface a little bit and try to get the fans on their side. So
no.
You say no, but there's been some pretty stupid to try to make big changes.
Parrish, your internet said no for a second there, and you cut out. You cut out. Sorry, what were you saying there?
That's because we're talking WWE logic. Even technology doesn't get it.
Right.
But I mean, I just think you have an opportunity here to make a good impact with this women's side of the Dusty Rhodes Classic. So I do believe whoever wins it will win the tag titles. And I just have a feeling that with how WWE likes to look at the bigger attractions, like Raquel Gonzalez, like you saw in the Rumble, like you see, the Bianca Belair, who's considered a bigger threat. You see Rhea Ripley's bigger. Charlotte, they're doing very well. So I think you're going to see this team go well. And as Spencer makes fun of my internet.
No, I got a phone call. Sorry.
But no, I mean, we already saw the accolades for Shotzi with the breakout. We already saw Ember Moon kind of like coming back, and I know, to me, she's reinvented herself in the NXT side.
Oh, yeah.
But I do think they look at her as being more of a single star. So I do have a tandem of Raquel and Dakota going on. Plus, I think you got to give Dakota, something for her hard work and over the time. So I think this is kind of one of those things.
I buy that completely. Joe, we'll let you finish that segment off, and then if you'd like to, feel free to carry right on to the following match that we'll talk about, the Dusty Rhodes Classic on the men's side, the Grizzled Young Vets taking on MSK. I don't want to interrupt. Like I said, I'm doing my good deed of the day and learning from my mistakes with Parrish, my co-host on the POS show next week. I don't want to make him mad 2 weeks in a row, so you can just carry on.
Well, that's the interesting thing. Well, that's the interesting thing with this match, the fact that we're following it with the male Dusty Rhodes. I think that's the big difference between these two matches here. Is over on the men's side, we have tag team specialists set up in the finals, and then over on the women's side, we have 4 singles wrestlers, and everybody with their own kind of own agendas. And I think that's kind of a big factor. So for me, that really makes it a toss up of who it's gonna be. I think though that whoever wins this, and I think it is going to be Shotzi and Ember, and I think it is going to happen at WrestleMania where they challenge, because I mean, especially Shotzi's entrance, I mean, that's tailor made for WrestleMania, right? Coming down the tank, Ember can have the over the top intro as well. So I think not only do they win, but they challenge at WrestleMania for those titles.
Yeah, because and just correct me if I'm wrong, because I know there have been rumors out there, but they are going to have limited fans at WrestleMania this year, correct?
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I could see something like when you're talking about the entrances and that, Joe.
Yeah.
It sounds silly to talk about when you're talking about an in-ring match, but a lot of the consideration for that sort of stuff is the outside, the extra stuff, right? You want to make a spectacle and you want to make a big event to something. Shotzi Blackheart debuting with a full-size tank at WrestleMania this year.
Yeah, Raymond James Stadium, right? So no, she's not gonna have a little toy tank. She's gonna have full-size tank, I think. And Ember might be hitting a ride with her in that entrance. So I think you have an opportunity to do something cool like that. Why not?
Absolutely,
never been done before.
Are they just going to pull Rusev's out of the warehouse, or what are they going to do?
Maybe.
They do tend to keep that stuff around. So
that was my point, though. WWE likes to kind of if you leave the company, they like to kind of assume that stuff doesn't matter. So that's kind of where I was going with it too, because I could see them doing it.
First time in history, except for it happened one other time.
First time in history, tank was used at WrestleMania. Joe, we'll let you continue on, my friend. You were talking a little bit about the differences in the two matchups. You gave your thoughts on the women's side of things. What are you thinking about the Grizzled Young Vets and MSK?
This is one that's really interesting with MSK and the Grizzled Young Veterans. I don't know a whole lot about the Grizzled Young Veterans, but being somebody who watches, I don't watch a lot of Impact Wrestling, but I've watched some. I mean, for those not in the know, MSK is Nash Carter and Wes Lee. That's 2/3 of the Rascals from the Impact. If you guys have not seen their work in Impact, go check some of that out, and you'll get a little bit more kind of context. I mean, they're absolutely fantastic as a team, and I'm definitely looking for them to go over and to do that, because I mean, they're just a really dynamic, exciting tag team to watch, and it's nice to see some good tag teams, and hopefully we can do more with this tag team division, because not just the NXT, but I mean like WWE tag team wrestling in general, it's in rough shape, and it needs a real kick in the ass, and these guys are a good choice to
absolutely, man. You want to add some rocket fuel to it, you've got it right here. I want MSK to win. I really, really do. I think that would be again, I hate the cliche, but it would really establish them. And I think that you need to do that when you've got a brand new team, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I love the Grizzled Young Vets, though. I love them, love them, love them. I think that you talk about tag team wrestling in the vein of like the Revival and American Alpha and sort of the high point of tag team wrestling. I think a lot of people look at over the last 10 years is that sort of run in NXT. The Grizzled Young Vets could be one of those like flagship teams as far as that revitalization you talk about goes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the Revival were so essential to that run through every team there. You look at AOP, like every team in NXT had a great match with the Revival. And I feel like with the Grizzled Young Vets, whether they're carrying titles or not, don't get me wrong, they'll be able to do that. But I think that having them as champions, having people coming up to them and having the Grizzled Young Vets knock them down, but continuing to have great matches and elevating people that way would be a huge boon for that tag team division.
Where I think things could get really interesting now. I don't know exactly what his contract status is with Impact Wrestling, if that's possibly up in the air or if it's close to wrapping up. But I mean, to kind of make things happen, I mean, if Trey could show up and kind of be that thing to put him over the top, I mean, I would pop really big for that if he showed up.
I'd love it, dude. Don't get me wrong, because I want great pro wrestlers to be seen by as many people possible at every opportunity. But over the last couple of weeks in Impact, since he came back, like he has looked on another level. And I don't know if that's just like extra motivation. I don't know if that's just being, I guess, looked at as a singles guy rather than as one of the Rascals, whatever it may be. That the reason is, like, he was always great. Don't get me wrong there, but like he's gone from here near my top of my screen to over and above the top of my screen. I've loved him over the last little bit. I've always really liked him. So however it happens, man, if he was to show up on NXT, hell yeah. And if he just keeps tearing it up in Impact, then hell yeah. Do great things, more people will come to him either way.
That'd be like an Adam Cole coming out of nowhere type of situation. I would pop just as large if Trey showed up.
Absolutely, man. Matt, we'll move on to you. I'm going to go counterclockwise on this one from my view of the screen. What are your thoughts on the men's side of the Dusty Rhodes Classic?
Again, another, I don't know, interesting one. And I don't know whether they've booked themselves into a corner because you've got a brand new team that's brand new to the brand. You know, as I said, the hardcore NXT fan base probably hasn't seen a whole lot of MSK. But then you've got GYV. Do you run the risk of them sort of being not able to win the big one because they lost last year? So do you run the risk of having them lose the big one again? I don't know. Personally, you can't go wrong with the winner of this because they're both established teams and they're both actual legitimate teams and they're both teams that you could build a tag division around, as Joe said. So look, if I had to pick, I'd go the GYV, but look, you can't really go wrong. And part of me wants them to what's the word I'm looking for? Unify the tag titles and have them like the women's titles across all three brands. And because I've thought NXT's tag division, like they put the titles on Breezango and it was just a mess. And it's still a little bit of a mess. Like the tag titles haven't been defended on a takeover for the best part of 12 months. Portland, I think, was the last one I read yesterday. But so, yeah, you could build a tag division around either of these teams. So I would say GYV going to win, but I wouldn't be surprised either way.
That wasn't Breezango's fault. I mean, those guys are absolutely fantastic, especially Tyler Breeze, a fellow Canadian, too. Shout out to Tyler Breeze.
Yep. Excuse me. I think you're bang on, though, in both of your points because of each other's points, you know, because Matt, I think you're bang on in that I think everybody knows let's just get real here, like what a Tyler Breeze mark I am. I love the guy. I've always got a soft spot for Storm grads, and then Fandango is just great. So I do agree, though, that it has been a bit of a muddled tag team scene since around when they got into the title scene. But I think that's because, like you said, Joe, there really hasn't been a consistent tag team scene over the better part of a year, right? I think that,
probably longer.
I think that this needs to be used, like we've all sort of alluded to. And Parrish, I'll let you have the final say before we head into the break. But this could be a really, really great opportunity for whether it's unification, whether it's just using one of these teams as a linchpin of a tag division, whatever it may be. I think that this has to be used as a bit of a a soft reset, quote unquote, for what the tag team division is right now. Parrish, give me your thoughts, and then we're going to head into break, which will feature another exclusive from my last interview with Mike Bennett here on Love Wrestling, and then we'll move into the final 3 matches on the card, but that's for later. This is now. Parrish, your thoughts on the men's side, maybe unification, and your prediction of a winner for the Dusty Rhodes Cup this year.
Well, I'd like to unify the Raw and SmackDown tag titles because A, they look stupid, and B, they don't do anything with them. However, they went from looking like pennies to dimes. All right, let's just make it a loony.
They still suck.
Yeah, that's not fair. But I mean, to go off your point, Matt, of how do they not put themselves in the corner, I think it's very simple. At the very least, Grizzly Young Vets have been a tag team champion under the NXT banner before. They were the inaugural NXT UK tag team champions. So losing to them, I don't think puts MSK in a terrible spot. They came out, they're impressive, but you know what? They just couldn't get it done. And maybe Grizzly Young Vets gets that experience cheating win, and it sets up, it could be a feud. Because I do think MSK is going to beat Grizzly Young Vets at some point for the NXT titles, but I think Grizzly Young Vets win this to get to those titles, so then you can start using that as your top brand and feud to reinvent this tag division. Because Spencer, I believe you said they're kind of like the revival to Grizzly Young Vets are, but the MSK is kind of like your Ciampa and Garganos. And between the two of those, that is your recipe for building a new tag division in NXT.
Yep. I love it, man. I think you're bang on. My only hope outside of this match is that I still get to see a few more Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch tag team title defenses because I love them. Those guys are fantastic. Again, there's with my soft spot for Storm Wrestling Academy grads in the former Biff Busick. Big old stud, as was my guest on Love Wrestling this
Great
Friday.
Twitter game, by the way, too. Great Twitter game.
Completely agree with you there, man. But as does, again, my guest from this Friday's interview on Love Wrestling, I had the opportunity to speak to Mike Bennett from Ring of Honor, who, speaking of tag teams, recently reunited with Matt Taven in ROH as part of the OGK. We touched on that a lot in the interview. That was great to talk about. But one of my favorite parts of the chat was just getting to pick his brain on mental health and how he stays positive through professional wrestling. I think it's something that a lot of people can pull from, whether you're a fan of pro wrestling or not. So we're going to take a quick break, and I'm going to take that opportunity to show you that highlight from my chat with Mike Bennett. Stay tuned through this, friends. It's going to be worth it. We'll be chatting NXT TakeOver when we return. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of that in pro wrestling, and I say that as an outsider, man. I've never stepped in the ring myself, nor will this 160-pound kid likely ever do it. But it doesn't seem like there is a lot of that, or even just overall just a culture of positivity, for lack of a better way to put it. As a guy who's very, very upfront about where his mind state's at all possible moments, like, how do you continue to keep yourself in a positive frame of mind and continue to keep yourself motivated that way?
It's a battle. I won't lie. Like, I'm human, and it's just, I think it's a matter of just being honest with yourself and constantly telling yourself, like, to me, the industry is so negative and the fan base can be so negative sometimes, but I've reached a point in my life and in my career where I've realized that if someone is that unhappy with me, what is going on in their life that they are bringing that unhappiness and presenting it towards me, someone they don't even know or they don't even understand. But it's also a culture. There's been this culture in professional wrestling of like, I remember when I was coming up the first time in Ring of Honor, and guys would tell me like, oh, if you ever want to go to WWE, you just have to be an asshole. You got to be a jerk. You got to be, because that's the culture. That's the mindset. Like, Vince always wants people that are just like, they told me that when I was with the company. They were like, Vince likes assholes. Like, that's just how he is. And so it is a culture that trickles down. But what I feel like is ever since there's been like this uprising of indie guys getting signed and indie guys kind of changing the industry, I mean, there's a ton of positivity now too. If you look at guys like the Bucks, or you look at guys like Kevin Owens or myself, or like, there's a lot of guys that are like, no, this industry doesn't have to be this way. This is our industry. Even Cody always says it. This is our industry. The industry is for the guys and girls that step in the ring. And we have the ability to change the mindset.
I loved it. I really, really loved getting a chat with him, and I'm certain I'm going to say that pretty well about everybody I get the chance to chat with. But it was really affirming for me to get to hear, like, you know, you hear about guys like Kevin Owens and the Bucks and Cody, and whether you're a fan of their professional wrestling or not, I don't think there are many people out there who don't talk about what great individuals they are and what they're looking to do in the professional wrestling business itself. So to hear that from a guy who frankly just has far more right to say it and far more knowledge of the pro wrestling business than I, to have them reaffirm that and to hear that, you know, admittedly that it's a struggle for them sometimes too, just lots of good stuff to pull from Mike Bennett. I, again, not to put myself over too much, but it's always because of the guests that I suggest to watch my interviews, and he was a great one to have. So if you've got the chance after this is done, you can find it on the very same YouTube channel you may be watching this. If you're on Twitch or Facebook, you guys can hit with one click right over to YouTube. All of them can be found at /Love Wrestling CA. We're going to talk about NXT TakeOver in just a second here, but Parrish has been holding his finger up like he's had something to say pretty well the whole time. So what's up?
Well, I figured it'd be nice this time because I'm too loud. But I do love the quote that Vince McMahon likes assholes, and that's currently a storyline on Monday Night Raw.
Yeah, I like assholes, but they bleeped out holes in the highlight. Either way, though,
on SmackDown.
Well, and we're still at the under. We had it at 4 whole jokes, I believe, was what we had the over under at, and we're only at 2 right now. So if you're in the comments section, give us your thoughts. You're in the comments, of course. Give us your thoughts on anything in pro wrestling, whether it be Nia Jax or, as we're discussing on today's Sunday Brunch, NXT TakeOver Vengeance Day. We're going to kick it off right now with the North American Championship match. Matt, I know you're excited about this one, man. You started off the battle by saying this was the match you were most excited for tonight, so we'll let you kick it off. How are you feeling about Johnny Gargano versus Kushida?
Look, I'm not going to lie. Yeah, as I said, this is my pick for match of the night. So, and as I've stated, neither of these guys do bad wrestling. It's very, very rare that these gentlemen do bad wrestling. When Johnny turned heel at the start, I was like, oh, come on, why would you do this? But as you said earlier, Spence, like his heel work has been top notch. Once he's hit his stride, his work has been absolutely fantastic.
Yep.
And Kushida, like in Japan, Kushida was just the man. His in-ring work was just second to none. But coming over to NXT, he's had to evolve a character and grow into his role and so on and so forth. And we saw his charisma come out this past week on NXT in that, you know, a promo or a segment that could have really turned to shit, but it actually ended up being really, really pivotal in the way they moved the story forward. But yeah, these two, look, I hope they open, and I believe they are. Give them 20 minutes and it cannot be anything but this one. So look, I think Kushida will win because Johnny as the heel, I think is probably better as a chaser. But in saying that, it wouldn't surprise me if Johnny, thanks to douchebag Austin Theory, got some sort of underhanded win and they maybe build towards this again WrestleMania weekend. So yeah, it could go either way.
I wouldn't mind that at all. I'm going to pick a couple of points there, but I feel like I've gone second for pretty well every match so far. So Parrish, we'll move on to you. We'll change up the pace a little bit.
Well, what I like about this match is you're finally giving Kushida a true singles attempt to be who he actually is. Like, I hate this initial, oh, here's this guy, because people are trying just to get to know you and trying to recognize you, so it takes some time. But Kushida now finally has that real opportunity to break through and showcase who exactly he is in the NXT universe. And what I really like about this match is he's with a guy like Johnny Gargano, who everyone knows has great matches. That's why he's Johnny TakeOver. But with that being said, it's also that platform to, like, look, we know what this guy is, and we're giving you this platform here where you can do no wrong. Let's just break the goddamn ceiling out, right? Yeah. And that's what I think this match is going to be. I do think they're going to use the way to kind of make sure Kushida doesn't win the title, but I do think this is going to be more than just a one-show feud. So I do think maybe we'll see somebody come in with Kushida to help negate the Austin Theory. Maybe we'll even see an Iro try kind of point up with Kushida to go up against the team of Johnny and Candice moving forward. I don't know. I'm throwing it out there because I would like to see that. But yeah, I'm going to go with Johnny Gargano because I do think he's going to just somehow sneak out the win. But I also wouldn't be surprised if Kushida looks like $1 million coming out of this match, because why wouldn't you want that and help your division moving forward?
Yeah, and I think that's where I'm going to pick up off of, if it's okay with you, Parrish, because I completely agree with you, man, in that you need to make Kushida look great. Not that he hasn't, but I think that a lot in the way you brought up about the grizzled young vets earlier, Matt, that maybe Kushida's become a bit of a guy in some circles that can't win the big one, proverbially, right? And I think that not only having him win tonight, but win dominantly would just be huge for him. Not in a heel sense, not in a I came in and snapped and beat the hell out of my babyface opponent, whatever it may be. Like, Johnny Gargano's done an excellent job over the last couple of months of making himself just an unlikable heel. There are so many cool heels out there nowadays that that tends to lose a bit of impact sometimes. People really want to see Johnny Gargano get his ass kicked, myself included. Yep. So, again, it's maybe picking a bit with my heart, because I know that there's a lot of logic in like an Austin Theory interfering or having the Way get involved, whether it is an Indy Hartwell or whoever it may be. There are a lot of ways you can have Johnny Gargano win and still have Kushida look great, but I think nobody looks better than when they win. So I've got Kushida winning the North American Championship tonight. I think that, they are going to continue this feud potentially through WrestleMania season, because these guys are talented enough to carry something that long. But I just love Kushida. I want to see him win. I think that Johnny Gargano has been fantastic, and it is time for his comeuppance in the traditional professional wrestling sense. Joe, much as we did with the tag team matches in the first section there, let's get your thoughts on Gargano Kushida, and then let's move immediately on to the women's championship match. Io Shirai taking on Toni Storm and Mercedes Martinez, if you would please.
For sure. For this, for Gargano and Kushida, it's interesting because we have Austin Theory with Johnny, we've got Kushida. First of all, with Kushida, I mean, for those who maybe aren't that familiar with Kushida, you can go watch a lot of New Japan. A lot of his record there is absolutely fantastic. And he's one of these guys that, with Johnny and Kushida, I think these are two guys that you can really build up an NXT brand with, because these are two guys that, honestly, I am just terrified of them moving up to the main roster, because I think both of those guys don't stand a chance over on Raw or SmackDown. Vince will just not understand how to implement them whatsoever.
Hey, Johnny already got called up, don't forget.
Yeah, very briefly, but I do see Johnny winning this. What I would like to see coming out of this is, because we have this now. This would require there's again, I don't know, contract stats kind of going on. I don't know if anybody can kind of see where I'm going with this. We have Austin Theory and we have Johnny Gargano. I mean, he seems to kind of bounce back and forth a bit. If Alex Shelley could show up and we have the Time Splitters versus Johnny and Austin Theory, I mean, I think that's a money tag team match.
Oh man, like you say, and there's the precedent for it. Like, it's not like the Time Split. It's baffling to me. You see all these posts come up on Twitter every so often through this pandemic, and it's like, holy shit, this happened last year. Like, the Time Splitters reunited at the last Dusty Rhodes Cup. It's not like this was years ago or anything. And again, I've got no idea what contracts are like in pro wrestling or anything along those lines. This is purely, as I'm sure you are, Joe, like just something two guys really think it'd be neat.
It was just a little while ago when Shelley was working at the Performance Center. I mean, he was a trainer there for a little while, and then he seemed like he just kind of went right back to Impact. I have a feeling he's probably on a short-term deal, and like I said, I would not be surprised to see him come back. I mean, that's, again, that will be my second markup moment for the evening there, to see Alex Shelley.
I'd love it, man. I'd absolutely love it. I can't say that I can see it as a likely thing, but it's professional wrestling. Never say never.
Make it happen.
Hey, Edge and Roman wasn't on anyone's radar 2 months ago. I willed it into existence, and here we are. So anything is possible if you say the magic words.
Yeah. Everybody, you can thank Matt for this.
Please Joe, push Cesaro. Please push Cesaro.
Hey, sorry. He loves wrestling, all right? I should have actually saved that clip, but unfortunately it didn't. Joe, let's move on, as we said, to the Women's Championship match. Io Shirai taking on Toni Storm and Martinez. I'm just psyched. Talk about great women in professional wrestling. These three names, even prior to signing with WWE, would always, always, always come up. And I think that you can maybe debate Toni Storm a little bit, but I also think that all three of them, since joining WWE, have just taken it to another level. I've loved what they've done with Mercedes Martinez, even with the couple of hiccups with Retribution, whatever may have happened with that stuff. Not just I'm going to chalk up as a shit happens. Other than that, like whether it was Robert Stonebrand, whether it's her return, the cage match with Rhea Ripley, she's been lights out. Toni Storm, lights out. And I think over the past couple of weeks has really found her way as a heel. And then Io Shirai, by my money, man, it's her, it's Deonna, and it's Sasha Banks that you were in the conversation for the top female wrestler in the world right now.
Oh yeah, I mean we've got three of the best here. I mean Io Shirai again for outside of WWE, and for Toni. I mean go check out Stardom. It's very easy accessible. You can watch both of them. They're both absolutely fantastic over there. I mean Mercedes Martinez again, another one of the best in the world. For me, it's so hard to pick between these three because I think that they are three of the best. If I really had to pick though, I mean my gut says to go with Toni Storm. Especially if you can, for me, and I'm going to go against what you said, Spencer. For me, I think we need to have a face turn here because I think that having her as a heel, we're leaving money on the table with her. I mean,
I don't disagree with you there. Don't get me wrong.
As a face, you could print money with her face on it if she was a baby face as opposed to a heel. You would have like John Cena level popularity with her as a baby face if you really push it.
Fair enough, man. That's some high praise. I don't disagree. Like I think Toni Storm. But again, it goes back to guys like Johnny Gargano and Sami Zayn and individuals like that who were your perpetual baby faces. If WWE hadn't done such a great job of those guys turning heel recently, I'd be in the exact same boat. Yeah. But I think that it's still too early for her to turn back to babyface. I think that you've got to establish her as a heel before turning her back because I think you're bang on, man. Whether it's 2 months from now, 2 years from now, she'll be a huge babyface in WWE at some point. I just think tonight's too early.
And I'm not going to just say this just because we have Matt on the show here, but I mean, I don't know what it is with wrestlers from Australia, especially a lot of the female talent coming from Australia. I mean, just absolutely friggin' amazing. I mean, again, Toni Storm is my pick. And like I said, I would like to see along with that a bit of a transition back to being a good guy. Well, a good girl in her case.
Parrish, let's move on to you.
What do you think? Also the inaugural NXT UK Women's Champion?
She was a Mae Young winner, right?
Didn't Toni? No. She was beat somebody for
Rhea was the inaugural. Rhea was the inaugural. Okay. Toni defeated her. Haley Ray defeated Toni Storm.
Right.
Oh, what do you know? Rhea and Toni, Australians. Good job.
Yep. It's like how 2 of the 3 AEW champions have been Canadian.
Yeah. Great talent coming out of Australia and Canada.
Who would have thought? But let's talk about some people other than the Canadians, as I tend to ramble off on here. Parrish, Shirai, Storm versus Martinez. What are you thinking, friend?
Well, I think if anyone was to kind of sneak out the win here because of any changes, it would be Mercedes Martinez who would pick up that sneak win if you're going to tease a Toni thing, Toni face turn. But here's the thing. I don't think we're going to see a title change in this match. I actually think you're missing the boat on possibly a one-on-one match with Mercedes Martinez and Io Shirai. And I do believe that Io is going to lose the title on a singles match. I don't think you're going to do it on a multi-person match at all. So I do have Io Shirai taking up the win. Unfortunately, I have her beating Toni Storm just because I see her less likely to get that push right away than Mercedes Martinez. But I do like the fact of using Toni Storm, who, by the way, like we've talked, is chasing history of becoming the second person to be NXT UK and women's champion. So that'd be pretty cool if it happened. I don't think so. Plus, I do think with what else I have, we need a babyface going over. Io Shirai is kind of the face of the NXT women's division right now. I think if you're going to do anything, you do it at Mania.
Completely agree. Now, Matt, I will give I'll give the choice to you here, my friend. Do you want to go now or do you want to go first for Finn Balor and Pete Dunne?
I'll go now if you want.
All righty. And your thoughts on Io Shirai taking on Toni Storm and Mercedes Martinez?
Well, I'll keep it short. I think Io wins. And as Perez said, I think Toni cops the fall. Not for any other reason that yeah, Io they're going to build to Io and Raquel. They can't just forget that, in my opinion. They can't just gloss over the fact that Io has, as far as I know, the only person to pin Io in NXT is Raquel. I can't actually remember her being pinned by anybody else. So I think they build to that. I think Io wins. Yeah. Well, I think we're going to get the usual triple threat tropes in this match, but yeah, I think Io wins. I think Tony will turn face eventually, and I think she will eventually win the championship, but now's not the time.
I agree. And I think that it's because of those traditional triple threat tropes that you'll sort of see between teammates. I think that's the reason I'm so confident with Io Shirai winning the championship or retaining the championship. If there wasn't the relationship between Mercedes Martinez and Toni Storm before this, I'd be a little more hesitant to plant my flag as firmly as I am with it. But
yeah, one's going to cost the other.
Yeah, you're going to see one of them inadvertently break up a pin at the wrong time, or again, just one of your sort of tropes with it, because they're too talented to just take a traditional pinfall and look weak in what the internet
there's a whole lot of protection going to go on in this one, so it is.
Yep, and as I think there should be, right? They're all just they're in respective ways futures of the NXT women's division in my opinion. So. You got to make them all look good. I'm calling Io Shirai, and then I am just going to move on fairly quickly here to the NXT Championship match. We'll do this as our minute or less segment between everybody here because we are getting closer to the end of the show here, as we tend to do. We like to ramble, and there ain't nothing wrong with that, but promoters get mad when you go over your match times. I'm really excited for this one. I think you're looking at two of the most talented professional wrestlers in the world. There's no bones about it as far as I'm concerned. I think that Pete Dunne is eventually going to be the guy to take the championship off Finn Balor. I don't think it's tonight. I think that the Undisputed Era are conspicuous in their absence right now. I think that things have been quiet for long enough around Pat McAfee that he could potentially get involved in some way, shape, or form. I think that every match on this card is sort of destined for a pretty conclusive finish, for lack of a better way to put it. And therefore, for this one, I have to say there's got to be a schmoz somewhere. You know, you got to account for the schmoz. So my thought is either the Undisputed Era get involved or there's a DQ because McAfee returns, whatever it may be. Something will happen to lead to a bigger match in the next little bit. And then you're going to see it go back to a one-on-one match between Pete Dunne and Finn Balor where Pete beats him. But there's my call for tonight. I'm calling Finn Balor leaving as your NXT champion. Joe, we'll go to you.
Well, just to go against the grain here again, I'll go in a different direction than you, Spencer. I do think that Pete Dunne is going to win because I think that is who Edge wants to take on for that NXT championship. And then again, we have the Karrion Kross angle as well, whether you can spin that into a triple threat or, if you actually have Edge win the NXT championship to take on Karrion Kross for that. I mean, there's so many so much potential for some cool stuff here. Right. That, for me, the matchup I want to see is Pete Dunne versus Edge. I'm hoping that that's where it leads to, because I think that would be one of my favorite matches at WrestleMania if that happens.
I'm intrigued. You've tickled my interest. You've piqued my interest. Parrish, we'll go to you, my friend. We'll let our guest on the show today close out the segment, give his thoughts on the NXT Championship match. But we'll tackle you off first, friend. Who have you got leaving, Balor or Dunne with the NXT Championship?
I have Finn Balor retaining, and here's why. And it's simple. We talked about the Edge dimension. We also talked about the Karrion Kross dimension. I believe we're actually going to see Finn Balor versus Karrion Kross as your singles matchup. I do think they're going to go back to Kross as being the guy that takes the title off Finn Balor and not Pete Dunne, simply because I believe that Vince McMahon is going to need Edge to face either Drew McIntyre or Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. Therefore, we're going to get that instead. That's a Vince McMahon move, because he takes everything away from us. That's what he does. But with that being said, I have a feeling that Pete Dunne is better served as a babyface, and there's part of me that thinks that Pat McAfee is going to kick Pete Dunne out at some point and replace him with somebody else. So I think they might go that way, and we might see a teaser at this end. Spencer, I think you're right with the schmoz, but I think it's Karrion Kross doing it. And that's what we're going to end with. We're going to see TakeOver with Karrion Kross holding the title that he never lost up in the air.
I would not complain with that one bit, my friend. I really wouldn't.
Interesting.
I don't like the phrase generational talent. Like I just think it's especially in pro wrestling. You can make that call in like a hockey or a traditional sport. It's hard to make that call in professional wrestling, but there have been very few people in the last even say 5-6 years for me that I've been as just consistently interested in it as Karrion Kross, Killer Kross, whatever name he was going by, right? Matt, I'm going to get your thoughts as our main event of the Sunday brunch for the main event of TakeOver today. Who have you got winning the main event between, I almost wanted to say Karrion Kross. I'm so excited about it.
Right?
Between Finn Balor and Pete Dunne. And after that, friend, please plug where people can keep track of you on social media.
As much as I want to see Dunne be the man in NXT, and it will happen at some point, but as for him turning face, no. Balor will win. I have no doubt about that. I'm as confident as this match as any of the others on the card. So Balor wins for mine. And look, if it is going to be predictable isn't always bad if it's really good. And I have a feeling, as much as I'm not a fan of Balor, he's really good, Dunne's really good. This match has the potential to be one of the better ones that we've seen on a TakeOver or any show for a long time. But I think Balor will win. But yeah, look, we're going to get some ridiculousness at some point. It's just a matter of where, how, when, so on and so forth. But I think in the end, Balor will win. And yeah, there might be some shenanigans by the end of it.
Completely agree, man. Matt, I can't thank you enough for hopping on this morning, man. It's been an absolute blast. I can't wait to have you back on again. I'm certain it'll come closer to the next NXT TakeOver because shit, you showed me up in some of the shit you knew that I didn't, but I'm going to let that one slide, man. How are you doing? And social media ends, where can people keep track of you if they want to keep track of you?
They can follow me on the Twitter machine, Heavenly_Emperor. That's HVNLY_Emperor. That's what the THE stands for in the name there. Also, my YouTube, which is TH Emperor Entertainment. It's just a whole lot of wrestling, video games, MMA videos. I haven't done one for about a month because I had some stuff going on, but getting back into it. There's one about Edge and why I believe he was the right winner for the Rumble, so on and so forth, coming out in the next couple of days. So look out for that. Follow me. Yeah, all that good stuff.
Love it, man. Parrish Joe, we'll grab your guys' social media in a couple of seconds here, but of course we want to give a quick shout out to everything that we've got coming up here in the next couple of days, the next 7 days exactly on Love Wrestling. Of course, Poetry of a Promo you guys saw earlier will be coming out tomorrow. My exclusive with Casey Lennox heading to your ears and your eyes this Tuesday. Turnbuckle Rewind is scheduled on Thursday, and we'll be back here on Sunday for a nice little taste of brunch with all of you. Parrish, Joe, I would have to assume, as you guys have over the last little bit, that you guys will be joining me on brunch next week. But if people want to keep track of you over the next 6 days prior to the ability to see your lovely smiling faces again here, where can they keep track of you? Joe, let's get started with you, friend.
For me, as you can see below my ugly mug here, at TB Talk Pod on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, you can find out everything going on with me, with my show, Turnbuckle Talk, as well as Turnbuckle Rewind.
Absolutely. Parrish, what about yourself, friend?
Well, first off, next week it's POS show, so you should get your schedule correct.
It is the 21st. Hey, I screwed the graphic up.
So for all correct information, you want to go to @Chris Parrish on the Twitter, @Creator of the Parachute on Twitch, @Chris.Parrish. And you know what? Spencer Love ain't here, so I might as well end the damn thing.
Well, no, I'm not going to let you do that. People tune into the end of these shows sometimes. I got to close her out well. But, of course, friends, despite my upsetness and my incorrect information, I can guarantee to you guys that what we've got coming up in the next little bit on Love Wrestling is going to be just a lot of fun. It's going to be stuff that you enjoy, and it's stuff that I would really personally appreciate, and I know I speak for the rest of the guys here. If you guys would check out, you guys can do it pretty easily anywhere that podcasts are found, pretty well anywhere that videos are found, or directly on lovewrestling.ca. You can find our content. Just search Love Wrestling CA pretty well anywhere, folks. If you're looking for me personally, I am at Spenny Love on Twitter. If you want photos of my dog and a lot less actual personal interaction, my Instagram is at Spenny and the Jets. I love chatting professional wrestling, though, guys. Tweet me, DM me on the Twitter machine. I'm happy to chat. I am happy to take suggestions, comments, concerns, whatever it may be. But mostly, I thank you guys for tuning into this edition of the Sunday Brunch. Next Sunday, I will be defending my Love Wrestling Elite Championship against Chris Parrish, the man on the left of my screen, at least. How it's showing up for you guys, I got no idea, but I'll be defending the title against the handsome Chris Parrish next Sunday at the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. Tune in at 11 a.m. Mountain Standard Time for that. Get your picks in. Let us know who you think is going to head out of the EC as a winner. But in the interim, guys, stay tuned to Love Wrestling for everything you love about the squared circle and everything around it. I've been Spencer Love for Parrish, for Matt, for Joe. Thanks once again, friends. Happy Valentine's Day. We'll talk to you soon.